Well, we are back. And I think we said this last time around, Jesper, that we were going to talk about the Swedish national team ahead of the World Cup because
Exactly.
the squad has been announced. And it's no surprise that some people are very happy about it and some people been have been quite critical too. I think it's good to have both, but I'm gonna go with my first like thought about it,
Yeah.
and then you are gonna give me yours, uh, because I'm not that surprised about the selection. One or two players I could say that I'm surprised about, but at the end of the day, no, I'm not that surprised. I think it's a good squad, an experienced squad,
Yeah.
and this is a squad that knows what it takes to win medals. That's what I'm gonna say, and I will also say that I really can't have opinions about it, since from what I just said about that this is a squad that knows what it takes to win, and maybe we could talk about opinions, but then after the tournament is played and we will have seen the result. What about you?
No, I agree. I actually think that the squad was very good. It may sound boring. Maybe as an analyst, I would have other opinion, but I don't think that I would have selected anything different from what Peter did. Actually, I really wanted Anna Sandberg to be in the squad because I think she's so good, and I said that before the selection. And I was not 100% sure if she was going to be in the squad, but just because like she's a backup, she's going to be a top player. Like she's not going to play in Häcken forever. So I thought like I really wanted to see her, and she was selected. And the other players that wasn't selected offensively, like I think that's more like an issue because Sweden has very good players in the top, and like that they in another tournament maybe they would have been qualified, but right now there are other players that fit into Gerhardsson's play more, and that you can't. Yeah, so I wouldn't have done anything differently, actually.
No, and I also think that one thing we I know that we will talk about this once you start with your data and player cards here, because we basically what we're going to do here is show the Swedish squad using data,
Yeah,
obviously from their club seasons. Um, and the thing is that I think it was ahead of the Euros that at least I was thinking about, the amount of minutes that many players in the Swedish national team had been playing ahead of that. But that's quite interesting because now comparing to ahead of the Euros, if we compare it to now, then it's different, and that's positive. I think a lot of players have been playing many minutes for their clubs. So let's jump right into it.
yeah. Let's
Shall we?
jump right into it. I think that's the absolute best way to go. So, okay, Mia, do you see my screen? Do you see me and you, our avatars here?
Yeah, I see them.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about, as Mia said, ahead of the World Cup, the roster, and this, and yeah, what form our players are in. Because I chose to select like all the spiders from the season, and I think that's an interesting way in looking at like it's maybe not an exact truth of like how good are the players, how will they play in the national team, but it tells you a little bit on like in which form are they coming into, are they playing in the role that we expect them to play in Sweden. Because one issue that could be in the World Cup is that you have very good players and you want to try to fit in your best players to the 11, but and this for all national teams, but you have two of your best players playing in the same position, and then you want to play them to the right, or they have been playing in one system in the national team before, but now they are not playing in that role in their club anymore. And yeah, will that
Yeah,
affect?
and also, I mean, what the data will show here is that okay, you can you will be able to tell what role they have had in their club teams, but
Yeah.
also what they are good at. So when you
Exactly.
look at these spiders, you can, when you watch them play in the national team and in the World Cup this summer, you could look out for these things that they are good at, and then you will recognize it from the data. Because obviously, I mean, if you know that a player is good at something, as a national team head coach, you will probably try to make them do that thing over and over and over again, or as
Yeah.
many times as they could do for the national team as well. But we have 3 goalkeepers, because
Yes.
this is what is said to be the final selection for the World Cup. We also need to acknowledge the fact that Sweden have some players that have been injured on and off during the spring. Some of them haven't even come back from injuries at the moment. So if this is the final squad, well, let's see. But we will do the players selected for now.
Yeah. And I think we'll start. I thought we will start with Jennifer Falk, who is for me the goalkeeper that will be number 1 in the World Cup. I don't know if that's going to be for sure. I don't know what you think, Mia. It could be Musovic as well. Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a hard one, actually.
Yeah.
I really do think this is a hard one. And I'm not jealous about. I'm not jealous for Peter Gerhardsson's sake about this selection. So.
I agree. So when it comes to Jennifer Falk, I think that one thing that you can look in this spider is that she's coming in very good form. When you compare her to other goalkeepers, when it comes from pure saving percentage, classic measure, or when you look at like how many goals they have saved compared to expected goals, she's on a positive. She's one of the absolute best goalkeepers in Damallsvenskan so far this season. So she's coming in a good form, and there's been a progress since last year. So I think that's very positive for Sweden.
I think we could, before moving on to the next goalkeeper, is the fact that it says so on this player card and the spider. But Jennifer Falk is playing for BK Häcken, and BK Häcken is currently top of the league in Sweden.
Yeah.
But I do also think that you could, just before we move on, explain these metrics.
Of course. I think saves per 90 and save percentage is something that everyone understands. Pass percentage is also just what the accuracy you have when you are playing with your feet, and she's very good there. Average gain pass is like how long you kick the ball on average, and you can see that she's right on the average line. So she can kick it long, she kicks it short, and she does that with a good percentage. For some goalkeepers, it's very normal that you have a very short average gain pass and a very, very high pass percentage, but then it usually comes from that you're not involved in like doing the challenging passes. You're mostly like just delivering the ball to the closest center back or fullback, and then you're not so much involved more than that. But that's not the fact for Jennifer Falk. Duels is like mainly when you when you slide out, when you do a goalkeeper exit, and you have to win the ball in some way. Keeper claims is when you jump up in the air, and how often you do that and like claim the ball. So it says something about both how good you are at it, but also like how much you do that, and you need to do that. And she's a bit below average, and I think that comes from also the fact that she's playing in Häcken. And then when you have the clean sheets, that's more of a team metric. And the mean expected goal against, that's also a team metric that is explaining how, like on average, the shot you have against you, how high of an expected goal is that. And if the value is high, that means that your defense is not maybe doing the best job for you. You have a lot of shots in the box that you have to act on. and if the value is really low, it means that your defense is maybe helping you out a lot, and you're mostly acting on long shots and shots from further out or bad angles, which is what a good defense tries to do. Stop finishes and force the opponent to shoot from situations where it's less likely to end up in a goal. And in this fact, it's reversed. So if you're the furthest out, it means that your defense is doing a good job. So you can see on average, like, the defense in Häcken is doing a good job as well, but it's not like she's not acting on close shots.
Yeah. I was actually thinking when I watched this before we started that Zecira Musovic Spider is quite the same. And you said something about that, especially with the keeper's claims here, that she plays in Chelsea and maybe she doesn't have to act.
Yeah, I would say so. And when it comes to Cecilia, you can see that she's also, like, she hasn't been the number one for the entire season, as you know. So, like, maybe there's like less games and you should have that in consideration. But you can see that the saving percentage is really good. But when you compare to expected goals, you could say that maybe she is like not overacting. Like, when there's a shot that is likely to end up in the goal, she's not saving it for most. Like, so she's not overperforming in that way and allowing her team to concede less goals than expected when she plays in, like, but she's still very close to average. So, like, she's not bad, but not as Jennifer Falk doing an obvious difference there.
No. And we also have to mention here that the obvious, we're going to state the obvious. They don't play in the same league. So that's one thing people will have to keep in mind when we talk about this as well. Even though it's a fact that you might think that Zecira Musovic, when she has been playing in the league, she hasn't been playing against the best teams. But the fact is that she has been playing when Chelsea played against Arsenal, for example, and she has been playing in the Champions League, but the data just shows the Women's Super League. But we have a third keeper, and this is actually my first. This is my first player that I was a bit surprised about, but I was more surprised about the fact is that my surprise came from the fact that how the Swedish league has been looking, and from the fact that she is the first goalkeeper in a Swedish Damallsvenskan team, who is at the bottom of the league. But she has been with Sweden for the last two gatherings. So in that way, I was not surprised, but yet surprised.
Exactly. And goalkeeper traditionally, maybe it's a position where you work more long term, or especially like on maybe number 3, or like you can expect a goalkeeper to be very good in a few years, and like it's very unlikely that goalkeeper number 3 will spend any time on the pitch. But you can see here one interesting thing is that she usually kicks it long in compared to other goalkeepers in Damallsvenskan, and that from that I think her pass percentage is lower because she's kicking more long. And I also think that comes from like when Kiefer Bro is spending a lot of time defending, and like when the defenders win the ball, they might pass it back home to her, and she's very pressured and they don't want to take maybe too much risk, so she knocks it long. Like she's maybe trying to find a teammate, but it's also a lot of passes where she's more like, we need to release pressure here. We need the opponent to restart. And I think that's a fact from that. And then when it comes to pure saving, she's below average in Damallsvenskan, but she's still like, this is just one way of the season. So it's not the entire truth. And there are a lot of other good goalkeepers in Damallsvenskan that doesn't have a Swedish passport as well, that she's competing with, like Medina Luck, for example, and so on. So
we're gonna have to be honest here, though, also that we think that Tove Enblom is the like she is the third goalkeeper.
Yeah, obviously.
She's gonna be about Zecira Musovic or Jennifer Falk.
Yeah, and Hedvig Lindahl that was not selected. She has a saving percentage that is above average. She's had a good season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't say I didn't expect anything else, but maybe in this position.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the defense. This is also something we have to mention here, because Sweden and Petter Eriksson, he has selected just or only 7 defenders.
Yeah.
Actually. So we can actually say this now. So when he presented the squad, he said that he had chosen to have just 7 defenders instead of 8, I think. And then looking at the positions in front of the back line, he has chosen 2 players for every position. I know, Jesper, that you have questions about this. We will talk about them later when we present I mean, what could be starting 11s. But
yeah, exactly.
Let's just go through the defenders.
Yeah, and when I did this, I tried to, like, up in the left, you can see it says CB or center back, and I tried to, like, put the position where I expect the player to play for Sweden, or like possibly play. So some players have more, and that means that they maybe, and I think Eriksson thinks of this as well, that maybe they are like they are mostly one position, but he also thinks that like this player could play in different positions, like in case of the need and so on, or depending on the opponent. But Linda Sembrant, I expect her to play center back. She has a very she's played not the all of the entire season, but she's played a lot. You can see from her minutes played number, and her spider is very good. Possession wise, she also generates chances like on set pieces mostly and so on, or corners. But then defensively, when you adjust for possession that you do in the spider here, she's very she's above average and everything. So she's doing very well in Juventus in Serie A when she's playing. She's categorized at the ball playing center back, and I think that Sweden has, in that regard, like all center backs that we will see are confident in like handling the ball, which is good for Gerhardsson's philosophy and so on. She's a typical like ball playing center back, and her detected qualities that the program detects, the machine learning code detects from the raw data. The main or the top qualities is that she's good in progressing the ball from the back. She's a safe passer. That doesn't mean that she's playing safe all the time. It means that she delivers the ball safely, that you can trust that she has a high accuracy. That's what it means. And if you have pass progressor and safe passer, that's very good in regards of that you can play it forward, but when you do it, you also deliver the ball. Like some players have a lower accuracy when they are trying to progress it, but yeah, that's not the fact for Linda. And pass leader, that means that you are like the player in the team that has the ball the most. So she's kind of a motor in possession.
Yeah, and this is actually interesting because I still think that many people looks at Sweden and think that we are a good defending team. Like this is in our football culture. We defend because we are good at it. But it's interesting that you say that especially about the center backs, that they are very good at handling the ball at their feet, both with passes and carries.
Exactly.
And many of these players, like of the center backs in Sweden, they have that role at progressing the ball in the build-up.
Exactly.
In their club teams.
And I think that this is a difference from now this is a show about women's football, but I think that's a difference between women's national team and men's. Like in men's, we're more typically good in defending, and we have that strategy from our coach. But like Gerhardsson's philosophy is like, I think it's it's more of the opposite. That like Sweden are very positive and good in possession, and but like from what you say, Mia, I agree on that, and I think some of it like maybe come from a time when Pia Sundhage changed her tactics, and it felt like Sweden was like very good in defending, but we were not like the most fun team to watch always, but it led to success. But Eriksson has like made us like one of the most fun teams to watch, and also being very good.
They want to play. They want to play with the ball, and they want to have the ball. So and this, I think that could be a reflection of what center backs, especially, have been selected to play another big tournament, I would say.
Exactly. So another thing, or next player is Magdalena Eriksson. I expect her to play center back, but I put in left back, like since she can play that role as well. If Jonna would be injured, or I don't know, the need would be there. She can fill in that role.
I was thinking that you wanted your favorite Anna Sandberg to play.
I know, but I still have to say that if Jonna would go down and there would be a situation where Sembrant and Ilestedt is healthy and we're meeting England or something, I think I would prefer Magdalena's left than Anna.
Interesting. Yeah.
But we can come to that maybe when we're talking about formation. But I think Magdalena has played maybe less than she has done the previous 2 years, but still a lot, as you can see. But then
I'm gonna tell you something now, Jesper, because I think she was among the top 5 players in Chelsea regarding most minutes this season.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's good. But I think a positive season, and she's made the move now, so she doesn't need to think about like where she's gonna play, which is good as well. I think to have that, like you don't have to focus anything on that. I know that always players says that I'm not only focusing on the national team now, but from like thinking from another standpoint, I'm just like when you don't know where you're gonna work, I have so hard seeing that it's not disturbing you as a player, that when the national break is over, I don't know where I'm gonna work. Like I would think about that in the back of my head.
Now she can just focus on winning a World Cup.
And I think that we know that Magdalena Eriksson, like if you talk about other center backs in the world, like when she's in form, or like she's very good in the passing game, in possession, like that's one of her biggest edges, but also that she's great in the air. And I think that's an edge she has as well. That's very good for Sweden. Like when you compare, like the average of a center back in percentile in the Women's Super League is around 60, and she has 92. So like she has a very good success rate when she's handling air duels. Ilestedt, like you can see that all the spiders here for the 3 center backs are pretty similar. Magdalena had the playing style the leader, and that comes from her being like having a different add-on when it comes to the offensive game than the other has. And then when I'm talking about generating like shot assists and in the air, and also like from her positioning and style of play. So that's why she is the defending leader. And Ilestedt is very comparable to Linda Sembrant, at least in the teams, like in the season. Their spiders is very comparable. But she's playing for PSG. You could argue a better team, or I think most people would agree on that. I don't know. If you look at the technical qualities, they're very similar to Sembrant as well. It's just that she's one of the best when it comes to progressing the ball from the back by carries as well.
And we should also mention that Amanda Ilestedt, I know you haven't counted with that here, but she could play a fullback as well on the right.
Yeah.
Both, actually, she could play on the both sides. But I think we will see. Yeah, I'm not even going to say I think. Maybe we're going to see her as a fullback. Maybe
we don't know, but
don't know.
That's a good thing to mention.
Yeah.
Okay, so here I have Nathalie Björn, who is selected as a center back, as we talked about before, Mia. But we can see her play both as a fullback on the maybe especially the right, and as a defensive mid, as that she did very well in the Euros last summer. Time goes so fast, right? Last summer,
Yeah.
When Seger was injured. So when you look at her spider, they're not as dominant as the other center backs, but it's still like above average, a good grade. And we know, I think that she's like when she plays in national team, she's also good. I feel like we have a very good setup here defensively.
Yeah, I think they complement each other very well. But also the fact is that Natalie Björn is a player that has been playing a lot in her club team, Everton, this season. And she actually started by playing as a CDM when the season started. But then she has been playing as a center back mostly during the spring. Obviously, also is that okay? She says herself that she likes to play as a center back the most, but the fact is that the two last games that Sweden has been playing against Denmark and Norway, she was playing as a fullback on the right side. And as you mentioned, she had to cover for Caroline Seger in the Euros, where she did really good as a CDM. So this is one of the most interesting players in the Swedish squad, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Very interesting, and one of my favorite players. Also, I have many favorite players in Sweden, so I'm gonna say it a lot of times, I think. We move on to Jonna Andersson, previous Chelsea, Hammarby since last summer. And she's a progressor, so like she's matching very well with the defensive role for the fullback as well, and that's not from her like being defensive in her role, but that she's very good defensively as well. You can see that in the spider, that like when I adjust for possession, especially when it comes to intercepting passes, she's doing a great job. Crosses especially, I think that's something that players that watching Jonna maybe, or when I think about Jonna, I think about good crosses. I don't know, but I like her her foot. And
I'm gonna agree with you on that. So it's gonna be I think we're gonna see a lot of delicious crosses from Jonna down under this summer.
I agree. And her playing time was less maybe than the others, but that comes from like Damallsvenskan's total playing time is like 1,000 minutes or something now, or less. Like we've just played half the season. So that's something to keep in mind if you're not following Damallsvenskan closely. And she very recently won a title with Hammarby as well, the Swedish Cup. So
she knows what it's like to win, both from Chelsea and in Hammarby now.
Definitely. Hanna Lundqvist. You have to remember me now, but was she elected in national team last summer or?
No, this is her first big tournament with Sweden.
That was what I thought, but I didn't dare to say it without checking with you.
No.
But she's coming from a good season in Atletico Madrid, I think. And when you look at her spider, like she's adding on in offensively, mostly with her carries, but also like she's a good defensive player. And I think that's a good thing Sweden to have, and I think that she will play in some sense. Then we'll see like if she will be a starter but she will get playing time in the Euros for sure. Duels and intercepting passes as two of the top detective.
She also has a title from this season actually with Atletico Madrid, Supercopa. Also a cup title.
That's nice.
Yeah, very nice actually.
Then we come to
now one of your favorite players.
Another one. Anna Sandberg, one of the fastest players in Damallsvenskan, I think, at least with the ball. Like she's very fun to watch, and I think that I don't expect her to maybe get much playing time, but I think that like if she would play she doesn't need to be a starter, but if she would play frequently, I think she could be a player that players that are not following Damallsvenskan would get their eyes up from, like, oh, what players is this? Like, she's good. Especially when I think about, like, maybe she could be a player that jumps in the last 30 or like plays in the group stage among against the South Africa, Argentina or something, where she's allowed to maybe shine more. So because she's super exciting, and it's been going fast, like from being good in Kieferbro and then moving to Häcken, which we had in an episode when we analyzed her in both those two teams. But yeah, her spider is, like, you can see so many metrics are in the top 20 percentiles or top 5, 10, like. But she's a typical progressor, and she's very good in like running with the ball and technically, and she fills in very good in the offense, and that's why she has so many box entries from being a fullback.
Yeah, and then I mean, this is a young player we need to add, and you just said it when we spoke about Jonna, that half of the season in Sweden has been played, and she has, Anna Sandberg has over 1,000 minutes, just above 1,000 minutes with BK Häcken, who is number 1 currently in the table. So we'll just leave it there, because that says a lot about what important role she has in Häcken.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we move on to the midfield with Caroline Seger, and I think the one thing
we need to mention it, because minutes played 100.
Yeah,
and that could worry most Swedish football fans, obviously. But she has been injured on and off ever since last summer in the Euros. So let's just hope that she will move toward full fitness as soon as possible, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that, like, still, like, this spider is maybe not that fair since she's played like a game in total almost, but I still think that, like, her predicted avatar and still shows, like, what I think is the biggest value with Caroline Seger, that Caroline Seger is, like, maybe the only or the most or the best player to have this anchor number 6 role and, like, do the dirty work for other players to shine. And, like, she's very safe in delivering the passes, and she, like, generates the possibility for other players like Aslani, Rolf, when Angeldal is as the best, like, to do the extra thing. And that's one of my concerns, like, with her being injured, how we will handle that. Björn handled it very well in the Euros, but yeah. So Seger is still, to me, very important for Sweden, and I'm concerned about the injury.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it when you show the predicted lineups. But then this is a player that whose minutes played, they make me happy, just because of the fact is that ahead of the Euros she hadn't played as much, and this is also a very important player for Sweden, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, she's matching mostly to the playmaker here, but she also generally matches very close to the box-to-box center midfielder, and you can see that in the spider, that she's adding value to her team both defensively and offensively. Like, she can do all the qualities a midfielder has. She's not necessarily, like, the best in every quality in the Women's Super League, but, like, she can do it all, and I think that's very useful. It's very nice to have her as a typical number 8 on the midfield, and that when it comes to the carry progressing is something that I think about when I think about Angeldal, something in the national team. Like, if Seger wins the ball or something and plays it to Angeldal, has the possibility to, like, increase the threat of the offense by, like, running with the ball through corridors, progressing the ball on the midfield, and that's a very nice quality to have.
This is a player I think that will both annoy many opponents with her box-to-box abilities, but also she will surprise a lot of goalkeepers in the World Cup, because she has a very nice shot from distance.
Very nice finish, and that's nice. Elin Rubensson, central midfielder it says here, but yeah, she could play number 6 as well, and has done so for Häcken as well this season. But she's, I think you can see defensive qualities here in the Spider, like mostly, but she's also above average in all other categories here shown in the Spider. When you look at the qualities, like from the pressing game that Häcken does, duels, and also crosses, like delivering the ball to the box from a more central position, she's doing a very good job. Her playing time here is about a little bit more than half of Damallsvenskan, and she has
also been injured. Yeah, she has been injured, and she actually made a comeback for real yesterday when Häcken played against Kristianstad. Then she came on into the second half, which was very nice to see. Obviously, she looked good also, I must say. But that's the reason for her amount of minutes being played.
Oh yeah. Hanna Bennison, one of the also a player that has a very good finishing quality from a midfield position. That's one of her qualities, together with runner. And what means with runner is that you cover a lot of space. So if you have the category runner, it means that you cover, like, one of your top qualities, that you're covering a lot of space when you're playing. And it's typical that central midfielders that matches a box to box, for example, or in this case for Bennison, it's the false 9, and like she's not playing false 9 in Everton, but the false 9 role is also meaning that you are playing in a center midfield role where you can fill up in the penalty area and come as a second wave, and also that your qualities would fit very well in that position. But box to box false 9, and I think maybe her Spider is like the Spider that is like, I don't know, it's least impressive in this presentation.
Yeah, but we can add also is that she also has a very nice shot from a distance. We saw that against Switzerland in the Euros, and she has been showing that in Everton as well. I feel like even though she has been playing many minutes in the Women's Super League with Everton, she has not always been a starter, and Everton is a tricky team. In many ways. Also, if we're gonna have to talk about her bars and metrics here, they have to defend a lot, and I feel that a player like Hanna Bennison, she is a very offensive and creative player. In many ways. So it's going to be interesting, along with many other players that we show now, to see her play at the World Cup.
Yes, we continue. Kosovare Asllani, I think everyone know who she is. She's had, especially when it comes to scoring goals and the technical qualities, she's had a good season in Milan. She's played not all of the games, but she's still played a lot, and I think she's one of the most important players for Sweden if Sweden is going to go and take a medal, that she has a good tournament.
Yeah, especially I would say that she will be especially important to Sweden going into the round of 32 and round of 16 and moving on there, because this is a very good player in so many ways, and she has the mentality, I think, that will be very important to bring into the Swedish national team as well. in some ways, obviously, because like we said from the beginning, this squad is a very experienced one. But this player has something, like she has something extra, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Jana Rytting Kaneryd. We talked a lot about her when she moved to Chelsea. She's not been a regular starter at Chelsea, but I think that her spider still shows like her qualities, that she's a very good chance creator, delivering the final pass, mostly generating threat through carries. One thing that she is not necessarily bad at, but like one quality that she misses from being the top world player is that her finishing is like not at that level. You can see that in the spider, and that's something that she had in Häcken as well. But I think that Jana Rytting Kaneryd is like the perfect joker for Sweden. Like she's not, in my book, starting, but she's perfect to sub in any game if it's the playoff or the group stage to play.
Yeah, she could like rattle opponents in a game if she gets subbed in. But also the fact is that I do think that she herself she must be frustrated about her finishing in Chelsea too, because she has had the opportunities to score a lot, but most of the time it hasn't gone her way, if that makes any sense. And also the fact is that we obviously we have wingers in this Swedish squad that could play on both sides, but Jana Rytting Kaneryd is one of the right wingers, together with I think the next player we will talk about. Let's see. No, not
next. She's coming.
Yeah, she's coming.
Fridolina Rolfö was the only Swedish, like one of the Swedish players we talked about when we talked about players that had performed the best in their leagues, in the top 5 leagues in Europe. And you can see that in her spider, from like shot assists and also defensive contribution. I think one thing that I want to add in the player role here is that she's categorized as like the progressive or offensive fullback that adds most value in possession. And that's from her playing role in Barcelona. I don't like those qualities that match as the progressor would be more of the creator role in Sweden's national team when she's going to play higher up in the field. But that's one thing to consider. And
if needed, she could play as fullback on the left-hand side as well.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a joke.
And I think
it's a half joke.
Yeah. And I think one thing with the technical qualities is like, I think that sums up pretty much what I expect from Fridolina Rolfö to contribute with, and what is important that she does if Sweden's gonna go well. And that's like being a playmaker in the passing game, like a wide playmaker, and contributing with shot assists. I think that sometimes she's getting criticism that it's not worthy from like that, just people expect her to do more points, but like most days that I expect her to put her teammates in good positions to score goals, and then she will eventually score once or twice. But like she's not a player that, like, she contributes with so much more than to be judged if she scores like 3 goals in the World Cup.
She has the qualities to be a top scorer, but the thing is that what bugs me the most about this debate that the Swedish football fans have is that they expect her to be the top scorer just because she plays in Barcelona, just because she has won the Diamantbollen, and so on and so on.
Yeah,
obviously, she is one of Sweden's biggest stars, but if I mean, for me that watch Fridolina a lot, I would say that I would be more disappointed if she doesn't do what you just said, like create chances for teammates and stuff like that. Then I would be more disappointed than if she scores or not, if that makes any sense.
And I'm gonna end her slide by being rude, but I think most people that are criticizing her, they don't know that she's playing a left back in Barcelona at the moment. So okay, we move on.
This is a player that can play on both sides.
Yeah, I should have had that in the spider here, but like she's also a perfect sub, and she's like always like it doesn't matter like which metric offensively that you put up for any Damallsvenskan season, she's always in the top. So a great player, and like the last national team game I saw, I think, was against Norway, and then she was subbed in. She scored a goal. I thought Sweden was gonna win with 3-2, but then we conceded one in the last moment. But like that showed like her quality of like making the difference when she subbed into a game. So a great player to have on the squad. Sofia Jakobsson, maybe the player you thought about was gonna come next before.
Yeah, exactly. Also, she obviously also can play on both sides.
Yeah, because like she's playing a lot from the left in US right now, but I'm expecting her to be playing at the right, and that's what she mostly does for the national team, right?
Yes. So I think it will be her or Johanna Rytting Kaneryd that will start if you play with wingers.
Yeah,
on the right side.
And she also has the runner tag, as we saw Bennison have, and I think Angeldal, like she's also always close, and that comes from like she's very good in like running up and down and working on the entire corridor, outer corridor,
Yeah.
and that's a very good quality for Gerhardsson. Stina Blackstenius, Sweden's poacher always, or Sweden's goal scorer. A typical number 9 classic striker shape of the spider, being very broad in like above average in many qualities. And I don't think that the qualities like surprise anyone with finishing, air target, and box play.
Also a very hardworking number 9, I would say, off the ball.
Yeah.
So she's a super important player, as Peter Gerhardsson usually says about her, that she is our first defender.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lina Hurtig hasn't played as much like in Arsenal here, so maybe not the best describing spider of like what she adds on. She's matched with the worker here, and that comes a lot from her defensive contribution when she's played in Arsenal at a higher position, and that she's working very good and putting teammates in a good position, which is maybe a quite similar role to what she has sometimes in Sweden's national team, that she's like enlightening Stina Blackstenius, making her a better player. But I expect her to be a sub. Maybe if we change system, we will look at that. She could be playing next. Rebecca Blomqvist, we looked at this exact spider in the last episode, I think, or if it was 2 episodes back. But she has just played like above 500 minutes. But when she's played, she has an amazing spider, and she's like matching to the attacking star spider for forwards and wingers. So she's like adding so much for her team. And was she a free agent now, or is she gonna? Or does she have contract?
Yeah, she is a free agent, but let's see if she's gonna stay with Wolfsburg.
Because I think you can see in the spider that maybe she could be a starter in a team at the Wolfsburg level, but I also see that, and some part of me thinks that like since Wolfsburg, like they played the Champions League final, they're one of the very best teams, that maybe she could have this kind of an effect over an entire season if she would play for a team at like a little bit lower on the ladder, like where she would be like recruited to be a starter all in.
Because we have to mention that she has not been injured this season, so her amount of minutes does not. It has nothing to do with that.
No, and I think the last player here is maybe the role I just want to say, like the player number 23, or so to say, like the player that the position that on the roster that's most discussed before, like who's going to be there. And I think it was a good selection to have Janogy, because she could play as a winger, as a striker. She's working very hard. She's had a great season for Hammarby so far. But when people are talking about Kofaji should be selected or Wienberg, I don't see any of the players we've gone through like that they should have been in the squad, except from that. And like because she has to replace some of the offensive players. So the only position I could have seen been going to any of them would have been like having Janogy at home and adding them as the 23rd player, because that's the 23rd position is more of a position where you can like fill out as a number 3 or like just because the player won't probably play as much. But I think the selection was good, and
I think that Madeleine Janogy will start.
Interesting.
She will be I think she will be a starter. She has been playing in a World Cup before. That's one thing, and she has experience now, but she also knows how to score at the moment. So I'm pretty sure that, I mean, she did a great game against China when Sweden played them earlier this year.
Yeah.
And so let's see. But I do think that this is a player that will make it to the starting 11.
Yeah. Okay. I added 3 passing networks from the World Cup qualifiers. That was some time ago, but I think it's still interesting when you look at it. Like these are different games, but there's both like there's one game where Seger has played against Slovakia here at home, like where she was the typical number 6 controlling the game, also a very offensive metric. But you can see in the middle where you have the Finland game, if Seger won't play, maybe being more similar to what we will have with Angeldal and Rubensson playing on the midfield. And then you can see more of a situation where like maybe Rubensson is number 6, but they're playing more equally as 2 number 8s, at least in this game. And then
and the last pass network here is also very interesting, because here we don't have, if I don't mistake myself right now, we have Fridolina Rolfö as the number 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Kosovare Asllani is not there, right?
No, she didn't play this game. I don't remember why, but probably injured. So I think you can look at these spiders for a long time, but I think that the middle one will be the closest to how we will play. But we'll see.
And with that, you're going into we just guess here, because there are so many factors here that could play a part.
Exactly, and I put the player roles in their teams at the moment, and I put them in the starting 11. If everyone is healthy, I don't know. Like first I thought like what I think, and then I maybe thought like, or this is what I want. I don't know anymore.
This is the dream, the dream 11.
But it's possible that we could play like this. There could also be a situation where maybe, as you said, Janogy is starting, and maybe that's then Jakobsson would not be starting, or who would you put on the bench?
Yeah, but this is what I think could happen if players aren't fit. That would be Janogy playing for Asllani.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I would
that makes sense.
Go with that. I would probably go with that.
The other option is like that Sweden would play 3 in the back, and I think that if you look at the previous slide, you could still see that Sweden would like kind of rotate. Like I put this as a 4-2-3-1, but the exact same players here could be a free defending system if they would like slide Björn in as a center back and have Andersson and Jakobsson as wing backs, and then you would have and that makes it hard, I think, for teams to scout Sweden, because maybe this is what they expect, but they don't know like when they have the players on the roster, will it be 4 in the back or 3 in the back?
So what we can take from this is the fact that even though Peter Gerhardsson said that, okay, I have selected 2 players for every position, I mean, that could be his thought from the beginning. But as we know, and what we have learned from previous big international tournaments, is that he probably will have to, he and the players will have to be very flexible.
Yeah.
Tactically and position wise.
Yeah. And I think
that will be no surprise if that will happen.
Exactly. And like the second option here, we put the 3 in the back, and then we put Hanna Lundqvist as a wing back on the right, and we put Seger out because we don't expect Seger to start in the tournament. We don't know, but we don't like, and that's not out of being too bad. That's just out of her injury problems and so on. And then we will see about Aslani, but like this could be a situation where you have this kind of 3-4-3 system, but it could also, like, if we play, especially in the group stage, I'm kind of thrilled. I don't want to bench Jon Andersson, but I'm kind of thrilled what we talked about before the episode of playing Rolfö in the same or a similar role as in Barcelona. And then maybe you could have Aslani as a number 10, and you could play Janogy and Blackstenius as strikers, or Hurtig and Blackstenius, like you could play 2 at the top. So yeah, there's a lot of options.
Yeah, and with that being said, I think that's good to have options. And it's going to be a very interesting tournament to watch and follow.
Yeah,
Sweden. We can't just say that. We have to say that Sweden has a good national team. I know there's a lot of talk about injuries and stuff like that, but when players are fit, and with the fact is that many of them have been playing regularly for their clubs, I would say that I'm hopeful, and I will believe that Sweden will be able to compete good. In this tournament.
We're gonna talk more about the chances maybe in an upcoming episode, but I see Sweden in a ranking as like the team 3 to 5 in the world or something like that. Like I don't see them as the best, but I see them just in the back, and that makes me like expect that like Sweden will go through the group stage. I think we will win the group, but like we have to go through the group stage. But then I'm in a situation where like due to the draw that we will face either Netherlands or USA in the last 16, probably makes me think that like it's going to be so like there's so small margins in the playoffs. If Sweden could go out in the last 16, but we could reach the final or semi-final. Like, so it's I'm gonna be so nervous.
Let's hope for the Netherlands. Let's hope for the Netherlands, and we'll just end it with that, because you are gonna predict this tournament later on, also using data. Surprise, surprise. With that being said, I'm gonna head off to Linköping Arena to watch Linköping play in the Damallsvenskan against Djurgården. It's a very hot evening here in Linköping, so it's gonna be interesting to see what team will manage the heat wave the best. Jesper, it's been a pleasure as usual, but take care, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.